Good evening and welcome to part 2 of my Linux how-to video series. Tonight we're going to install Wine. Wine is the Windows compatibility layer for Linux. It lets you run your Windows applications and games on your Linux desktop. We have a couple of methods that we can work with. I'm going to show you how to do it under Ubuntu Desktop version 11. To do that, you're going to want to open your Ubuntu Software Center, and that's this icon on your left-hand side right here. Once it's open, we want to search for Wine. And this is everything it has that matches Wine. Now you have the option for Wine 1.3. This would be what I would recommend if you don't want to use the graphical interface. This will install just Wine, and that's going to be it. You'll work with it from the command line other than the Wine configuration. The other way you can do it is with this Play on Linux. I really like this. This will also install Wine. However, it will install a separate version from what you installed here. So you really want to pick one or the other. However, once Play on Linux installs its Wine, you can work with it from the command line just like the regular Wine. Now, for most people, I would say just stick with the Play on Linux. But I'm going to show you, I have both installed so I can show you how they're both going to work. When you have it selected, instead of remove, yours will say install. I've already got mine installed, so the only option I have is for remove. But the installation is extremely straightforward. You just click forward, yes, and give it your password. And once that's done, you're going to want to run, either way, you're going to want to run wine config from your command line. What this is going to do, it's going to bring up the configuration for Wine itself. We have a couple of options in here. Normally, you're not going to want to mess with them. The defaults should be fine. But we can move where it says our C drive is. This way, when programs look for the C drive, this is the actual, this is the directory that we're actually looking at. We can also map additional directories if we want to, but again, the defaults should be just fine. Under Applications, we can choose which version of Windows we're going to be trying to emulate. We also have the option under Add Application to add an executable if we have just a standalone exe like Notepad or MS Paint, which are actually available in here if you want to dig through it. And the last option you're going to have that you may want to change is under Desktop Integration. This will map your My Documents folder in your Windows system to your Linux directory. You can choose, you can change it to a different directory if you want to, but again, the defaults should be just fine. Okay. And it's going to throw a couple of errors. This is the beta version of Wine that's installed, 1.3. So now once we're here, now we want to actually do something with it. What I have is, in this directory, I have the 7-zip installer. I don't have 7-zip for Linux, but we're going to install it now. So to do that, we're going to invoke Wine, and then the application name that we want to run. In this case, our 7-zip installer. Hit Enter, and there's our Windows installer, just like under Windows. We can go through the process. You can just leave the defaults if you like, and you go through the installer just like you normally would. Nothing special to it. Now, if you don't want to do it with the command line, you have another option, which is Play on Linux. Play on Linux actually has the ability to install a whole bunch of pre-configured programs for you. It knows how to configure them to work correctly on with the Wine emulation layer. To do that, you can click on Install, and we have all the different categories that it has available. Now, let's say I want to install Steam. I can search for Steam, and there it is. Even gives us a little thumbnail picture of what it actually looks like. We hit Apply, and it will go through the installer for us. It'll download the Steam installer, extract it, and do everything you need to. It'll even launch the installer once it's done. When that finishes, it'll actually add an icon to your desktop for you. In my example, minimize all this here. When it's done, we even have our Steam icon right there. With double-clicking this icon actually runs a shortcut which calls Wine plus the full path to the Steam executable. So it'll come up here in just a second, and there we go. There's our Windows version of Steam running under Linux. That'll cover both the ways that we can use Wine to run our applications under Ubuntu. There are more advanced features available, but this is just an introductory video, so we're not going to be covering all of that tonight. If there's any questions, please feel free to post them in the thread or something you'd like clarified. I would like to make these videos as good as I can for you people. Otherwise, have a good night, and I will see you when I have my next subject figured out. Thank you.